ciao guys, welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we're here with Charles. Amazing. We're so excited. Martina's here as well, as you can see, because Charles is so important that Martina had to be with me. Otherwise, I couldn't have hold Charles' energy on my own. It's amazing. Okay, Charles, how are you today?
No, I have to live up to that. I'm fantastic, but now I have to live up to that level of energy. So it's like, here's Charles. He walks on water. I'm like, wait, what? So, but I'm fantastic.
I'm sure you do. I mean, how many things have you already done? Like you've built like $1 million personal brands and companies and so on. So yeah, certainly you can walk on water as well. Martina, is there anything
I just know where the rocks are. That's all.
Okay.
That's the secret. You don't walk on water, you just know where the rocks are. And that's the secret of everything. We talked about that before. You have to know where the rocks are because that creates the shortest distance. So
oh my God, that's amazing. That's a good one. I will note it down. Yes, where's my pen here? Okay, good. So Charles, you are going to be interviewed by Martina as well today. And she's my lovely COO, as she's an entrepreneur herself. She has like 2 businesses plus a corporate job as, you know, an executive. So yeah, we're super excited to have you here. Martina, would you like to start with the first question? By the way, sorry guys. Charles, would you like to introduce yourself first, perhaps?
We can do either. You guys can just fire into it. It's completely okay. Just bring on the questions. I love it. You know,
we have already introduced you, you know, with your bio and so on, but maybe there's something that you would like to add. I don't know. You have space if you want.
Not really. I mean, I can give the normal spiel that we always do, which is, you know, I grew up poor. I couldn't afford the last 3 letters of poor, yet then I retired at 36, became a millionaire at 37, was lectured at Yale at 38. I wrote a book in 9 days. It became a Wall Street Journal bestseller in 16 days after that, and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm a support diver. I scuba dive a lot. I love traveling. We can get, it could go on and on and on, but let's bring the questions on.
And you walk on water. Okay, good. So, Martina, would you like to get started with your questions?
Yeah, wow, this was the fastest introduction I've ever heard, and the most impressive one too. So the short amount of time and then the impressiveness all included is just like, wow. So yeah, I mean, the topic today is like kind of how to build a multi-million-dollar brand. I think in a day and age, it is so important to talk about branding. And yeah, my question would just be, what is your take on personal branding before we go into how to build a multi-million-dollar brand? What is your definition of branding, and what did you do and not do in order to get where you are today?
So there's a lot of things. Great question. First thing I do is I got myself out of my own way. We talk about this all the time where you just want to hire people who are smarter than you. Pay them to do what you can't do, double down on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. So that's the very first thing I always do is I get out of my own way. You know, growing up, I was taught you have to work very hard. And when I was working hard, I was very poor. And when I stopped working hard and I started working effectively, that's when the wealth and the freedom started coming. And the second thing I would say is identify your target on the highest level. Know exactly what you're doing before you do it. Now, if you know, people come like, oh, I want to create $10 million a year. I want to create $50,000 a month or whatever it is, that you need to know your target. For me, it was, I want to never worry about money. That was the target because I grew up so poor. I was like, so that's the first step. I never wanted to work about money. Now, how do I build my brand around whatever my target is? And then you work backwards. So for me, that's the most important thing when it comes to branding and knowing that there are skeleton keys, right? Like when I walk in, I'm like, oh, I've lectured at Yale. People are like, oh. And then all of a sudden when I became Wall Street Journal bestseller, they're like, so having these social proofs is huge, yeah. But unless you have a network that's deep and you build your story towards that network, you'll never have net worth. So I know it's a bit of a broad answer, but that's the couple of things that I would do.
Yeah, I think that was such a juicy answer to my question, especially, you know, work effectively, outsourcing, right? I mean, these are the basics, but it's always good to be reminded of, because we all fall in the trap of like not delegating and just thinking it's all on us. So I love that answer. So thank you. And there's a lot to unpack here. Jessica, what do you think?
Oh my God, yes, we can interview Charles for hours and hours and hours, but he has to go scuba diving, so it's not possible. But anyway, So, Charles, so we talked about, like, I would say the main points that you followed in order, to explode your wealth and your net worth and so on, right? So, what was, let's say, the trigger that led to this pivotal moment that changed everything for you? Did anything in particular happen in your life?
Absolutely. So I grew up as a very arrogant, pompous kid. And then I went to college. Yeah, being honest, I was very arrogant. And then I went to college and I couldn't pay for college. So I had to get a job. And the job I got was working at a hospice. And I don't know if your audience knows the difference between a hospice versus a hospital. A hospital is a place you go to get better. A hospice is where you go to die. And being around the patients in that environment was pivotal to have my ego just ripped apart. Because you come in with this idea of just grinding and hustling and just pushing through it. And then when you see people who are on their final days, it just resets it. You very quickly learn that the world should be run by love and absolutely nothing more. And then you also find out that your time is finite. So being in that environment, the first 6 months is exactly how most people think. It is gut-wrenching. And I spent 8 years there. So being around there, talking to people, because I live in Boca Raton. And so the people who were passing away were very, very wealthy. So since I was in the room with them for hours at a time, hearing their story, having them say, listen, I would give up every penny I have for one more healthy minute, it shifted my idea. It shifted my whole mindset on, hey, I need to be the one. I need to be the, ooh la la, look at me, I'm amazing. I need to prove it. I need to show that I'm enough. That got ripped away by the time I was 20, 21. Because I was sitting in an environment where they're like, no, you have to find a way to hunt your freedom. You need to hunt your health. You need to hunt time. And that changed. That was a pivotal moment. And it was hard because I was raised by my father, who was an employee, right? Very, very much go out there, grind, climb the ladder, versus my grandfather, who retired at 50. So it was these polar opposite individuals who were hunting it. And it was about the same time I discovered the book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I felt like he was talking about my life. I was like, oh my God, because I had these two, I had a father and a grandfather. So I was like, I had these two fathers instead of these two dads. And it was this pivotal moment that ripped it apart. And being around these individuals who talked about, hey, hunt your freedom, hunt your health versus hunt your financial gains or your status symbol changed. And then I learned through personal branding how important it was that you do need those certain things. You have to play the game. You have to get those skeleton keys. You have to get that social proof in order to open the doors. It won't keep you there. But if you can get those doors open by using personal branding in your network, you will be able to create the freedom you want.
Oh my God, Charles, this is amazing. Wow. And getting on a meta level, I have to acknowledge your hero's journey, because I mean, the hero's journey that really happened in your life. And then now the way that you have packaged it, this is really part of your personal brand, right? I think it's a conscious exercise that you do. This is a story that you tell regularly, right? Absolutely. So well done on designing this story. And yeah, when we talk about personal branding here in personal PR, we mention usually we list three elements. Number one is the hero's journey. Of course, number two is values, which is also illustrated by the hero's journey. And number three is the mission. So basically, okay, in the hero's journey, we have a challenge, then a pivotal moment, which you have just told us about, and then an outcome, which is actually the embodiment. So basically, you embody the outcome of the hero's journey, which is basically the life that you lead in now. And that in many cases leads to a mission, your mission in the world, which you could even create a movement around. So if I were to ask you what your mission is, and maybe even your movement, what would you answer?
I want to be able to give that 14-year-old version of me all the secrets and the hacks to speed up the success, to reduce the amount of pain. So whenever I'm talking to someone, whenever I'm on a podcast, whenever I'm doing anything, I'm actually not talking to them. I'm talking to the 14-year-old version of me that's terrified that we didn't have the food. We had something called candle night, which happened about once a month, which means that we'd all sit around with candles. Just my father and I, we were divorced when I was 5. We'd sit around candles and we'd play cards. And it was like the greatest night. We'd sit around. And I was telling my father about this. I was like, I loved candle night. He was, you're an idiot. It was called candle night because I couldn't pay the bills. I was like, oh God, I didn't know that that's what it was. I was like, what? So for me, it was that 14-year-old kid who didn't think he was enough, that didn't know the secret, that knew that the answers were out there, but didn't know how to get there. And for me, it's everything that I've done is trying to help out all the other 14-year-olds out there, and not that still exist, even if you're 40, even if you're 60 or so on and so forth, being able to help them out. And when we talk about building your hero's journey, and this probably is more towards your audience, You have to do it in a way that gets their attention. Human behavior is very predictable. We have behavioral economics, we have behavioral science, the way that stores are laid out, the way that smells are pushed, everything is done in a very predictable way. Regrettably, human beings are predictable. So if you're going to build your hero story, if you're going to do it in a way that immediately gets their attention. You know, the first one that I do is I grew up poor. I couldn't afford the last 3 letters of poor. It's an attention grab. I spent 8 years in a hospice watching people die. It's an attention grab. It immediately rips them open and stops whatever they're thinking about. Because if you try to make you the most important person in their story, you fail. But if you become the best supporting actor, you'll thrive on levels that they just don't understand. The first time I ever saw this was there was a speaker who was talking, and he was very like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And he was sitting there and he was great. And this old guy walked by right over his shoulder, stuck his head around the back of his head. He goes, yeah, I walked on the moon. And it was Buzz Aldrin, and then walked away. All of a sudden, everyone's like, ha. So if you have this thing that punches through the noise, you become that signal versus noise, you'll get that attention. And if you're doing it in a way to give value, give more value than you get, it's one of the things that I learned in hospice. If you give more than you receive, I guarantee you that ratio it doesn't work. You will never, ever, ever have that work. Whatever you give out, it's a force multiplier. You will get back tenfold whatever you give. So I know the idea is give more than you receive. It just doesn't work. Every time I've given, I always get just a flood back. So give more. I know it doesn't make sense. I know if you're poor, if you're struggling right now, if you don't have the time, the energy, give more than you possibly can imagine. And I guarantee you it'll come back in a wave.
Oh my God, I love this. Yeah, this to me is the foundation of networking as well. All relationship building or super connecting as well. Absolutely. Reciprocity is so good. But then a lot of people give in order to receive. But I feel, and I've experienced, Charles, at least for myself, if I give regardless, if I don't even care if I receive, then I receive even more, to be honest. How about you? Yeah, this is what
absolutely, Jessica.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, that's a secret. Yes, Martina would say detachment. When we talk about business, Martina is always like, detach yourself from this outcome and this outcome, right? Exactly. Martina, is there anything that you'd like to comment?
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really important to mention, right? Because like humans are so egocentric at some point, and I think, you know, always reminding ourselves that we detach from expectations and results and give, because we also love to give, and it enriches us anyway by the act of giving. Then this is just, you know, where the law of reciprocity and, you know, all the universal laws you know, conspire in our favor at the end of the day. But, you know, giving it's just a good feeling too, right? It's like it settles our nervous system as well if we just, you know, let our gifts and our inspiration flow out there without thinking what would I get in return.
So, yeah, I'm so happy that you mentioned the nervous system. Charles, Martina is a nervous system coach. So she helps people, especially entrepreneurs, with nervous system regulation, like through the highs and downs, highs and lows of entrepreneurship. Yes. Martina, by the way, do you have any questions about the nervous system for Charles? I mean, not that you ask him, of course, the theory of the nervous system regulation, but maybe his experience. Did you have anything in mind already? Of this kind?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, you know, from Charles, how, I mean, I don't know how much you know about the nervous system, but I figured that people that are usually, you know, having an impressive hero's journey and have, you know, found a way how to regulate the nervous system in whatever way, right? I mean, sometimes we talk about mindset work or somatics, or what is your take on that? So, because I also know like a lot of people who are successful have come in touch with that in one support with somebody else in one way or the other.
Simply put, it's everything. I literally wrote a book about it. So what happens is how you breathe in your body, how your nervous system works, changes how you show up. For example, if your audience is listening right now and you're thinking about that one time that you were really scared, your breathing will change in your body. You will physically go. Your subconscious will move your breath. And then if I talk about, hey, what was that last time that you laughed so hard, water came out of your nose? Or the last time you had this amazing connection with someone, and I'm not going to get naughty on your show, but you understand where I'm going with it. Your breathing will physically change in your body. And we talk about this all the time, that the version of you that broke it can't fix it. And that's kind of the secret that I learned was the little kid, the little, you know, the not enough version of me that grew up, you know, I had this nose and these ears and I had about a third of the size when I was 14. So it was just, it was terrifying. So that version of me shows up versus the one that stands on stage and rocks and rolls it. They breathe different. They show up differently. They speak differently. They articulate, they interact, they love differently. being able to tap into both of those, not in place of judgment, because you need both, because there's about 4 of them, but you need both of them in this example. Changing where you breathe and noticing where that is important. And when we ask ourselves questions like, hey, how am I going to make all the money? Or how am I going to do this in my business? Or how am I going to negotiate? Or whatever this laundry list is, paying attention to your nervous system and specifically your breathing, where you're breathing in your body will determine that. So if you feel like, hey, I'm not enough, if you all think about that, you'll feel your breath change in your body. And you're thinking, you know, I'm an unstoppable force, and you remember a time when you were an unstoppable force, it'll change. So let's say, for example, you were breathing in your stomach when you were not enough, and you're asking yourself, hey, how do I buy this apartment complex? How do I, you know, negotiate? How do I do whatever that laundry list is? And you're not getting the answer that you want. Focus on your nervous system, focus on your breathing. Say, oh, I'm breathing down low. Okay, change it to breathing high if that was it for you. There's no right or wrong, just everyone breathes differently. And say, okay, I'm breathing here. You will get a different answer on command. So your nervous system is everything. It's the shortcut to hacking success in so many different ways.
Oh my God, Charles, this is amazing. I didn't expect this. Martina is elated because she's like, oh my God, I have a nervous system friend here.
Yes, totally. And my nervous system was so like, ooh, just like started to focus on my breath. I was just like sighing of relief, right? Because we need people who like emphasize that on when it comes to success, that it's all about the nervous system and especially the way how I breathe, because that activates a different states. And the state is actually then triggering thoughts, beliefs, and our story that we create or recreate. So thank you. That was really good.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say they're personas. I call them personas, and I've gone at it with Tony on this one, because NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, calls them states, and then there's archetypes. States are emotions, right? We go in and out of it, but personas are something that I would when your breath changes, I found that it's a persona thing, and it's what I got to lecture about. You literally change with, like if you're hanging out with your grandma or your grandpa or whatever it is at dinner, that's a version, that's a persona. And then when you're in a business meeting, it's a different persona, where both of them can be happy and sad in a different state. Focus on the higher level persona, name it, like literally spend time with this, focus on your nervous system. I know it sounds crazy. People are like, oh, I need to read another book. You don't, you need to read your book. You need to figure out your nervous system, your love, your life, how you react. If you can figure that out, it literally, I've done this where people are in the huge negotiations and I'll get that phone call because they're like, hey, I'm freaking out. This guy's kicking my butt in the negotiation. What do I do? I'm like, change your breathing. Where are you breathing? They change it. I'm like, what do you, like, okay, bye. And they hang up on me because they don't need me in that sense. They already figured it out. You have the answers within you. Just move your nervous system and the answers will come out instantaneously.
Oh my God, this is so good. And Charles, you said you don't have to read a million books, but I would say we need to read your book. And you mentioned your book a couple of times already. So because we're talking about your personal brand, I would like to ask you, what was a difference that you noticed in your career and in your personal brand? Let's say when you published a book afterwards, let's say. So you published a book and then the book was super successful. You were a Wall Street bestseller in like 16 days, you said, right? Yes. What changed for your personal brand?
Everything. The biggest thing that changed is people stopped calling me by my name. Before you would get the laundry list, right? Okay, here's Charles, he did this, he retired, blah, 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 blah. You get this laundry list. I have literally been brought on stage or podcast or whatever, and it's like, and here's our Wall Street Journal bestseller. I'm like, my name is Charles, I have a name. They just stopped calling me my name. But what it happens is it gives you this level of social proof. Because again, we're talking about cutting through signal versus noise. And it's important to understand that I had no desire to write a book. I can barely spell my own name. It's embarrassing. Like when I wrote my book, my assistant was editing it for me because she was in the Philippines. And she's like, you know that your has an R on it, right? I'm like, yes. And she was, and because has a cuz on it, right? I'm like, so I cannot spell. My sister is a gift. She's got 2 master's degrees. You know, one of them's in English literature. She's brilliant with that. If it wasn't for F7 on my keyboard with the spell check, I would be useless. Yeah. So I wrote it and just basically vomited on a page and then paid someone $150 to fix my spelling mistakes, which were numerous. And then my assistant literally asked me, she goes, does the period on your keyboard work? I'm like, yes. She's like, then you might want to use it sometimes and end the sentence. So it was horrible. But once we got it out there, you literally get introduced as that. You know, we talk about it with some of the stuff that we do with getting people in the top 10 for podcasts. If your brand has that social proof, if you're teaching personal branding, right? And you're like, hey, I teach personal branding versus, and that's Susie, I teach personal branding versus Jane, who says, I teach personal branding. I'm a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And I have another 3 podcasts in the world on personal branding. Who gets the business? And it sucks that that's the ballgame, but it's the way the game's played. Susie might be significantly better at doing that, but since, I think I called her Jane, Jane has those resources and has those social proofs, she's going to get that phone call. She's going to get on the call. And it wasn't until I saw someone who was, this is a Yale professor, the PhD from Harvard, got invited to do this talk. I mean, just powerhouse, absolutely stunningly beautiful, amazing human being. And she got bumped off the stage for this guy who's a New York Times bestseller. And I was like, wait, what? And that's when I decided to do the book, because I was like, this is a skeleton key. Having that social proof, it's everything. It changes it. And instead of having to fight to get on stage, I now get called a lot to get on stage and talk. So it definitely changed it.
Wow, this is amazing. Wow. Martina, do you have any question, or shall I keep going? Because I saw,
I have a question, because I unfortunately have to drop off in 5 minutes. But now, because you were talking about, and I love that you brought up that story, right? That you are not, you didn't study anything regarding writing books or anything in literature, or, you were not that bad, not the best one in spelling, but you still wrote this darn book. So how was, how did that become a bestseller? How was the process in that?
So I self-published, and then the mantra that I put a little post-it note on my computer when I was typing it was like, perfection is the enemy of execution. Just get it done. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's great, just get it done. Just push through it, get it done. And then if you want to become a bestseller, all you need to do, there's a million different ways to do it. There's a million different websites that'll show you how to do it. If you want to get to the higher level, go to them, get out of their way. I did it with a mutual friend of ours, helped him grow his business. He was like, here, let's go. But writing the book, getting it published, getting it done, it's so easy, so easy. You can literally go on upwork.com and hire an assistant who will publish it for you and get you completely uploaded on Amazon for less than $100. It's super simple to do. It's a lot easier than you think. But writing your book and having your book be effective is totally different conversations. Writing a book that you want to have impact versus income is a total different conversation. You have to write your book in a specific way if you're driving them to, because it's a funnel. That's all your book is. It's a funnel. It's driving to your brand. It's making it so you can have calls like this. Your book needs to be written in a very specific way. There's a book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Look at his book, model that, and you'll be good to go.
So good. And I love it, get it done, because Jessica and I have this code word where we say, like, just freaking ship it, right? Just do it, So I love that. Thank you.
Oh my God. So we have actually a club, Charles, with 2 other entrepreneurs, and the club is called Just Freaking Ship It. So if you want, you can join us. No, you don't need to. You're too busy for that. But anyway, we're totally aligned with you. Absolutely. We just get things done, and we ship multiple things every single day. Wow, this is amazing. Martina, do you have to go? Can you stay another 3 minutes? Because
I'll stay another 3 minutes. I will drop off then silently, but it's such a pity that I have to go. Oh gosh, that really hurts me right now, but I will catch it on the replay. So yeah, I use every second I have until I have to drop off. So.
Please. Absolutely. So you have time to ask Charles another question.
Oh, I think I'm good for now, Jessica. You asked the better questions, to be honest with you. So.
But Charles, I just wanted to let you know something, that Tyler, our mutual friend Tyler, was on the show, on a personal PR show recently. And Martina was there as well. She was my co-host that day. So she knows Tyler as well now, just so you know.
Yeah, Tyler's a powerhouse. If you want to hit WSJ, Tyler, there just isn't anyone better. There just isn't.
No. Exactly. But you are the guy that gets people in the top 10 of podcasts globally, for example. So he does books.
I am.
And,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, we did it because we needed that new skeleton key, because becoming a bestseller, everyone became a bestseller. There's a billion people at Amazon, USA Today, Wall Street. We needed something to differentiate it. And I kind of did it by accident. There was this thing called COVID, locked us all in the house, and we all had to do that. And I was sitting around, and because I'd been scaling businesses for 2 decades, I found this podcast, and I was like, oh, get her in the top 10, because I liked it and I wanted to give a voice to the voiceless. And I called her up and I said, hey, I'm going to do this. She's like, well, I'm shutting down my podcast. I was like, it's okay, I'll try it anyway. So there's no risk. And she hit top 10. And then I ended up telling Tyler about it. He's like, you could do what? I'm like, yeah. He's like, anybody? I'm like, anybody, anywhere, guaranteed. He's like, really? And then we did it. And he's like, oh my God. So we started doing this because I didn't think anybody really wanted it. And then, yeah, any podcast in the world at any time, we keep in the top 10, which means about 10 to 30,000 people are going to show up at your front door instantaneously. And that's why personal branding is so important, because if you don't have your brand on point, if you don't have your message on point, if you don't have your funnel, if you don't have that, I'm going to have 30,000 people show up to your door and they're gone and they're never coming back. So you have to have your message on point beforehand, before I drop it. But yeah, we created a company and we called it Audience Unleashed, and we literally can make you top 10, top 50, top 100, whatever it is, for any podcast anywhere in the world, anytime.
Martina, you have to start your podcast and then work with Charles to get top 10.
Exactly. I just had the same thought, because I'm launching my podcast quite soon, and I definitely will reach out, because I want to know how that's possible. So yeah, if I create a good podcast.
It's the same way. Well, so that's an important part of it. You got to create a good one. Your messaging has to be good, because people will drop off, right? I know you've got to jump off the call here. Your messaging has to be on point and be set up in a specific way. But it's marketing, right? It's marketing 101. This isn't anything complicated, but it's done in a specific way that drives them to them, that has the beginning of that funnel. It's just the big mouth of your funnel, but it opens the doors. Just like we were talking about before, I walk in and say, hey, I'm the top number 4 in the world for business marketing podcasts. Those doors are going to be opened. And if you don't have that, if you don't have the book, if you're just trying to, hey, I'm special, I've done a lot of work, you just become noise. You want to become signal. You want to become that lighthouse that pierces through the fog. And having a bestseller, a top-rated podcast, something of social proof is so important, because there's so many people just flooding the market with inauthentic things. So being authentic is critical.
Oh my God, thank you so much for highlighting this, Charles, because this is what I keep telling my students, my audience all the time, right, Martina? Every time I open my mouth, this is what comes out, right? Yes, third-party channels, social proof, credibility. This is like, they're all interconnected, and you need this. And this is what public relations is actually all about, right? Yes. Awesome. Martina, you have to jump off, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, Charles, for answering all the questions. And yeah, I can't wait to catch with the replay. So yeah. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you. Charles, see you soon. See you later. Anyway, I talk with Martina like every 2 hours. Okay, on voice notes on WhatsApp. Okay, Charles, can you stay for another 5 minutes, or maybe even 10? Yeah.
I've got another 20. Rock and roll. Go nuts.
Really? Oh my God, this is an honor. Okay, good. So we've just talked about messaging. So how did you create your messaging? Because we were talking about your story, and this is something that you said is something that you worked on. And how about your general messaging? Is it something that you just came out of your story organically, naturally? Or is it something that maybe at a certain point in your life, like when you realized, for example, that you needed a book, right, or needed a podcast and so on, all of this social proof, is it something that was very conscious to you and you said, okay, let me sit down now, work with somebody on this and so on? How was your journey when it comes to messaging?
So I think for most entrepreneurs, they stand in front of the ocean and then try and tell the ocean when the waves are going to come in and out. And they yell at the ocean saying, well, come on, come in, come out, come in. Don't do that. Don't tell the market what to do. Just sit there and say, what's the market doing? Oh, okay, we're having heavy waves today. I'm going to adapt to that. Oh, it's flat today. Okay, I'm going to adapt to that. The market will tell you what it wants to do. And if you want to be the schmuck that's like, no, I'm the best, and this is what, it's not going to work. There's so many people who have something that they love, their product, their offering, their service, whatever it is, their grandmother's cookies. We'll use that as a placeholder. And I love my grandmother's cookies. I've always loved my grandmother's cookies. I'm going to build around my grandmother's cookies. And they throw it to the market, and the market's like, I don't want your grandmother's cookies. Instead of asking the market what it wants, analyzing what it is, because people don't buy products or services, right? They buy stories, identities, and ways out of pain. And if you can identify pain on a high level and create a done-for-you service, and this is what we did with the podcasting. Everyone wanted to be in the top 10. No one knew how to do it. We made it completely done for you. That is something that's going to, and we just can't keep up. We're literally still forming the legal connection of the business, and we've already made over 6 figures. So we're like, damn it. So we're already scaling so quickly because what I did was I pulled me out of the picture. I became irrelevant. So even with my own messaging, I pulled me out of the picture. I pulled my ego out of it. I'm like, okay, what does the market want? How is this different? Do they want personas? Do they want persuasions? Do they want profit? What is it that they're trying to do? And anytime I tried to force my narrative, I would always lose. The minute I sat back and I went with the ebb and the flow of the market, that's how my message organically was created. Because there are certain people when you show up, one of the guys who works for me, this guy named Ross, he walks into a room and everyone loves him. He is like the little puppy dog. They love him. When I walk into a room, there's this instinctive, ooh, everyone pulls back a little bit because I'm intense. There's a lot. I just walk in. I'm a big guy. They're like, oh. So I didn't want to sit there and be like, oh no, you have to love me like I'm a puppy dog. I was like, no, that's not how the world's perceiving me. I need to show up authentically and say, okay, you're going to see me this way. As long as it's not violent or judgmental, I'm going to come in and it honors my truth to be that way. And when you show up as you, it's important. And kind of like we were talking about before, when it comes to branding, it's so critical that people, it's KLT, right? It's know, like, trust. They don't buy from people they don't know, like, and trust. And branding does that for you. But if you go against what the market's already telling you, like if you show up and you've got your hair stripped back and it's pink and you've got tattoos and you're like, hi, I'm a nanny. People are like, wait, oh, I'm sorry, what? It's going to be a little strange, right? If I show up and I'm 80 years old and like, I'm a quarterback or I'm the leading soccer player in the world, the market's going to be like, I'm sorry, what? Go to the market, see how the market reacts to you to a little bit, see where the market's going, identify that's pain, and then try to eliminate that pain through a done-for-you service. And if you can do it, and this is what I don't do this anymore, I don't coach like this anymore, but if you can do it in a way that you've automated yourself out, I used to say my clients hire me to fire them. So I come into the business organizations, I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, I want to be retired. I'm like, cool. I was like, because they normally say, I want to make $10 million more. I'm like, all right, whatever. What do you really want? They're like, I don't know. And that's when we talk about our where we're breathing and our neurology and all of that and our physiology, and we move it around. And they said, listen, what I want to do is I want to do whatever I want, get up whenever I want, and make X amount of dollars. I'm like, awesome. Then let's get you out of this, because your business that you've created isn't really a business. It's a jail cell. And the easiest way to do that is write down your whole process, write it all out in a black or blue ink or pencil, whatever you want. Then get a red marker and circle the areas where you're mission critical to that process. The minute your pen, that tip of that pen touches the piece of paper, you failed, because you haven't created a business. You've created a prison. That's all you've done. So you have to be able to pull back completely and say, hey, can this run completely without me? Again, with Audience Unleashed, the entire system doesn't need me in any way, shape, or form. I could get eaten by a purple dragon and the company will make more money without me than it would with me in it. So when you're doing this and you're putting all these things together, listen to the market, see what the market's doing, find out what the biggest pain is, see how you can eliminate that pain in a done-for-you system that you're not directly involved in.
Right. Oh my God, I love this. But at the same time, Charles, I do want to play devil's advocate here, because we're talking about personal branding, right? So we want to take ourselves outside of business, right? But at the same time, we have stated and established how important it is to have a personal brand. So what is the connection, for example, now between Audience Unleashed and the personal brand, Charles?
I love that. I love that question. So the business itself is completely automated, because that's what I do. I'm a systems guy. How do I get from A to B with the least amount of effort? I'm a systems guy. However, I need to drive walls of traffic to that. So I'm launching my podcast and my brand. We're calling it Living Unleashed, is the podcast that we're opening up. And we're going to rank it. And we're going to show that whole process of how we've gone from nothing to top 10. And I become that personal brand. I become that living, walking, breathing social proof of what it is, so that when people come in, I can direct them to the company that's automated and systematized. But I need to be that personal brand. I need to, especially in the beginning, you have to be that social proof until you get that hockey stick moment, right? Until you get that, we call it hockey stick, because growth goes like this, and then all of a sudden Oprah Winfrey says you're the best thing in the world and shoot straight up. That's a hockey stick. So we talk about this all the time. In the beginning, you have to have your personal branding, and you have to be able to hold that narrative and be that space. And then once you get better at personal branding, this is the stuff that, Jessica will teach you how to do. Once you get better at that, your company, your organization becomes a personal brand as well. It becomes like an individual person, where they view your company as a person. So you have to have that. It starts with your own personal brand, even if there's systems in the company and the organization behind it. For me, whenever I would do speaking or anything of that nature, I had optimized my personal brand on such a high level that they came to me and I could just dump them into the system. But if my personal brand wasn't on point, if it wasn't done in a specific way, which I'm sure Jessica's teaching you guys about, if it's not done in a specific way, you will not optimize. You will not generate income, because if you're trying to sell the company first, people don't buy companies, right? They're going to buy you first. They're going to be vested in you first, and then they're going to change that narrative.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my God, I love this. And I have to say that my cat, my cat wants to bring me her little teddy bear, who's actually a unicorn, and his name is Carl. So sometimes she just cries because she wants to bring it to me, and she wants me to welcome Carl and thank, Okay, sorry about that. But Charles, something that I wanted to say is that I love what you have just shared with us. And this is something that I call personal PR equity. And I explain what it is. I think, well, it's exactly what it is, right? And for me, it's a combination of personal brand, your personal brand, of your thought leadership, and of your network as well. So if you put all of these things together, and of course the social proof that is coming from the media, but no, actually I should take it out at this stage. Okay, I will explain. So basically your personal brand, usually it's your story, it's your mission, and it's your values, right? And your thought leadership is your breakthrough idea, especially, so your intellectual property, and maybe the movement that you would like to create around your breakthrough idea. Then there is the network as well, right? So basically all of the communities that you build, the relationships that you have, and the partnerships and so on. When you put all of this together, this is what I call personal PR equity. And I think it's super, super important in business at different stages of business, even when you're just starting out, because maybe, Charles, you have heard that some people say, oh yeah, don't invest in PR if you're just starting out as an entrepreneur. First, you have to figure out how to make money. And then, right, exactly. So this, I
Worst
say,
thing you could do.
right?
Oh my God. It's
Please.
so bad. Yeah, if I had $20,000 to run operations, I would take $18,000 of that and dump it into marketing and PR. There's just no way around it. You have to dump it in, because if you don't have that, you could create this beautiful product that no one's going to buy. Who cares? They don't know about you. You don't have KLT. You don't have that trust. You don't have that social proof. You don't have that super connected in that environment. You have to do that. We do this all the time. When I've taken over organizations and buy them and scale them and systematize them out, we immediately look at the marketing budget. And I can tell you, based on the percentage of your marketing budget to your entire allocation of what you're doing for your PR, I can tell you what your bank account looks like without even looking at it. I can tell you what your profits are, how much you invested in marketing, how much you invested in PR. I can tell you how much you're making. It's really, really simple. If you're not investing in getting your name out there, building your brand, doing it in a very specific way, because just getting it out there is not enough. We have something here in the United States called the Super Bowl. And the 30-second ads are $70 million or something crazy like that. They're insane. They're $7 or $70 million. And they're like, hey, look at me. And they make this commercial. At the end of it, you're like, who? What? Like we have here in Florida, we have these signs up that say, your wife is hot. And it's an AC commercial. It's an AC thing. It's about your AC is broken. But the big thing is your wife is hot. And it says your AC is broken. And I tell people like, oh, isn't that great? I'm like, cool. What's the name of the company? And they're like, I'm like, you failed. You completely failed. Your personal branding failed. Your message got out there. People are like, oh, I need to work on my AC, but they didn't buy yours. So you need to build your branding that drives them and puts it in their mind, because it's personalized. You have to create this relationship with your branding.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for mentioning this. And maybe this is something that you notice as well, but a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if they are in the early stages of their business, Charles, they say, yeah, but I don't want to draw too much attention to my product or service because I haven't figured out product market fit yet. And I'm like, no, at this stage, I totally agree. You shouldn't do product PR, but you should do personal PR, because what is the common denominator as you are figuring out product market fit, which will take a few, let's say, iterations. It will take you 3, 4, 5 iterations. The common denominator is you and your personal PR equity, basically like your story, of course, that always stays because it's connected with you. And then your breakthrough idea, your values, and so on. These are the very foundation of any product that you will put out there, to be honest, right? So if you create that and you create all of this clout and attention and so on about yourself, then actually like every iteration is going to be easier and easier and easier, because actually they will be able to leverage your personal PR, the personal PR that you have generated in the meantime. Yes, and certainly it's useful as well. Probably you've noticed as well when you want to pivot industry as well, or, you know, venture into a new industry as well. Like Tony Robbins, what did he do? He did like personal development for ages. And then 15 years ago, more or less, he then pivoted to personal finance as well. And then, of course, because he had like his brand, he has his thought leadership, and he had this network, then, of course, he was able to be super successful from day one in a new industry as well. Is this something that you have observed as well, maybe with yourself or with your clients?
100%. It's KLT. It's know, like, trust. People do not buy from people they don't know, like, and trust. And if you don't have that, I don't care how good your products are. I don't care how amazing it is. For example, if you buy a Kia, it comes with more bells and whistles and more features than a Mercedes on the base model. But people are still going to buy that Mercedes because the brand that's been built, you're vested in it. You know, yeah. Tony might not be the best at, you know, he's right up the street. It's 15 minutes away. Tony's great. But Tony might say, you know, this one guy might come out and say, hey, stem cell research is amazing on this, this, and this, and no one listens to him. Tony says, hey, it's great, everyone goes. We talk about this all the time when you walk into rooms. We talk about influence. If I walk into the room and say, I'm amazing, no one listens. If I walk into a room quietly and Jessica goes, he's amazing, all of a sudden, even if they don't know Jessica, we know this from human behavior, they're going to come over and like, oh my God, I heard that you're amazing. Tell me what you do. That's what PR does. That's what, if you have this ability to do this, it just puts you in front of the line. And it's so important. When I first created Audience Unleashed, I've had that forever, that name, we weren't doing podcasts. We were going to do something completely different. But because it was connected to my name, it was connected to what we were doing, I could easily pivot and move with the market instead of having to sit and say and push all this energy into what AU used to be versus what it is now.
Yes. Oh my God, this is amazing. I'm discovering so many things about you. I knew already that you were walking on water and did many amazing things, but every answer gives me new insights. Wow, I really, really like it. And something that I would like to highlight, which you have just mentioned, is that in PR, we have other people talk about us, right? So in marketing, you are talking about yourself. In PR, you have other people talk about you, which is what gives you social proof, definitely. And of course, we don't want anybody, like the first person on the street, to endorse us. That would be great as well. But of course, we would prefer, let's say, voices with authority. So of course, if, I don't know, the New York Times comes out with, does some research and then comes out with a ranking about the number one, I don't know, digital entrepreneur, and you are number one, Charles, then of course it carries more value than if you say this about yourself on your Instagram, right? In your bio, and you say, yes, I'm the number one digital marketer in the world or whatever, right? Absolutely. Yes. Oh my God, this conversation is so...
Just for your audience, we did, just to test basic PR, literally just a press release, which do not do that. I do not recommend, I'm not recommending this method unless it's done with someone who knows what they're doing. Okay, so that's important to notice this. We did this and we were playing around with it. We're like, hey, let's just test it. Let's just throw this out there. We'll do a little bit about AU. We'll throw Audience Unleashed out there. We'll do some PR. We're like, let's find out what happens. We're just playing with it. Someone offered to do it and we shot it out there. We got 2 deals that each one of them was 5 figures off, and within like 40, it was less than 48 hours. It was boom, right? Oh, it just happened because that's the power of PR for both your personal brand, for your actual brand. But if they didn't have me behind it with my personal social proof, it wouldn't have scaled as fast. You need to get PR. You need to get people talking about it. We talk about when you buy products, when you go on Amazon, you see all the reviews. That's PR. You need people talking about you and telling you how wonderful you are. You need that, because if you walk in and go, look at me, I'm amazing, it doesn't work. But obviously, if you get more people who have a higher status, to your point, Jessica, yes, you have to have that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that leads me to my next question, Charles, which is about, have you ever worked with influencers in order to amplify your personal brand? Because this is one of the
strategies. So we went and
excuse me. Yeah, please.
Yes. As a challenge, we were sitting down and someone bet me about 10 grand that I couldn't grow an Instagram account, because I wasn't on any social media. I didn't like any of it. I was like, I'm like, he's like, oh, you can't do it. I was like, all right. And boys are boys. If we're going to challenge each other, just boys. Here's a secret for your audience. If you get more than 2 boys around each other, we become 12. Doesn't matter what age we are, we're 12-year-olds again. So I was like, all right, let's do this. So we literally sat there and he's like, I guarantee you, you can't grow over 100,000 followers organically real. You can't buy them in 90 days. And he was right. We did it in 39 days. And I grew 100,000 followers on Instagram in 39 days, and we did a 6-figure launch over the weekend. And the question was, how did you do that? Well, first off, we came up with a narrative. At the time, I was 42. So my story was, how does a 42-year-old dude without chesticles get and grow it? And everyone loved that hook. Like, oh my God, that's great. And I literally showed people along the way. Now, in order to scale that and how you do this, it's not a big secret. I've talked about this a bazillion times, is you have to use other people. You have to use other influencers to talk about you. So that's how we did it. We had famous people who would reach out and say, hey, here's this guy, Charles, you should go check out what he's doing on their actual Instagram. And we would get 10 to 15,000 just driving in instantaneously. And then once they got there, I was releasing videos every day. So again, this goes to, you have to deliver value. You have to be giving things, not just PR. Just saying, hey, I'm amazing is not enough. You've got to have everything set up with that. Don't get me wrong, personal PR is very powerful. It will get people to your door. It won't make them stay. You have to be delivering value in order to get them to stay. So yes, we did it with that. That was probably the biggest one we did. And then anytime I'm on stage, normally the person who's introducing you, it normally has a certain oomph, a certain power to them. So being able to have that inherited from them is huge. So that's a couple of ways that we've done it. With the book, I'm debating about doing another book. I've got a couple people who are pretty famous that want to do the forward to it. So, but yeah, using that, it just shortcuts it, guys. It makes you signal versus noise. It cuts through the fog. It's so important to have your PR. It's so important to have your personal PR on point, because if, to your point regarding Tony Robbins, if your personal PR is on point, you can sell anything to anyone at any time.
Oh my God. Oh, I have to interview you again, Charles. And I see that we are approaching the end of our conversation. Okay, I do have one last question, which I ask to everybody who's been on the show, and I always get different answers. And this question might be a little bit silly, but let's see what you think. But before we do, we go ahead and I ask you a question. Could you please promise to us that you will come back to the personal PR show? Because I feel that we've just scratched the surface today, although we have been talking for 50 minutes nonstop.
Absolutely. It would be a lot of fun. I'd love to come back.
Oh my God, guys, get ready. Okay, cool. So the next question, the last question is, Charles, what is a question that I didn't ask you over the past 50 minutes, but I should have asked you?
That is a tough question. I guess in order for the success that I was looking for, I think the question I wish people would ask more is, who are you? Who are you really? Not the person that you're trying to make mommy or daddy love you or the success. Asking yourself in the mirror, who are you really? And then throughout the day, and this is something I ask myself every night before I go to bed, am I proud of me? Not is someone else proud of me? Who am I? Am I proud of what I've done that day? And if I haven't, that's okay. I take notes. How can I do better? But I think sitting down and going, am I proud of me? Who am I? Am I becoming that person I want to, is so important. There's so many people who find ways to hack the system to generate income in ways that just aren't authentic and violate their truth. And that no matter what, how good the PR is, no matter how much money you make, no matter any of that, if you're violating your essence of who you are, your authentic self, there will be pain. So understanding who you are and what you really want, not mommy and daddy wanted me to be a doctor or whatever else it is, understanding who you are intrinsically, having that go into your nervous system, really knowing who you are is so important. So
Charles, who are you really?
I will answer that on the next one. We'll leave that as a drop. We'll tease everybody, and the next time I'm on, I will answer that.
Okay, well, that's the deal. So you really have to come back to the personal PR show very, very soon. Thank you so much for these amazing 51 minutes. They were super enriching for me, and I bet for everybody who's been watching us. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Charles.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, awesome. So we will see you very, very soon on the personal PR show, and take care and enjoy the lovely weather in Boca in Florida. Think of us when you bathe.
I'm actually gonna head out shortly. It's beautiful.
Oh my God. Okay, enjoy it for us, please. From cold Europe, minus 3 degrees right now. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. See you soon for the next episode of the Personal PR Show. Ciao.